Welcome to the Freight Project Podcast, brought to you by Cerasis, a North American third-party logistics company providing shippers transportation management technology and solutions.
On today's The Freight Project Podcast episode, I welcome back the Cerasis Freight Desk Manager, Chris Longner. As you may remember, Chris is responsible for managing the Cerasis team, who is responsible for arranging freight pickups with our shipper customers' vendors. Today, listeners will learn on this episode why missed freight pickups occur and what shippers can do about them. Further, Chris will outline why freight pickups are more common than one thinks on the LTL side of this industry, and what are the multitude of reasons why missed freight pickups occur at all. Chris then lays out a plan so when a freight pickup occurs, what a shipper should do next. After explaining what a shipper should do about a missed freight pickup, Chris then will share ways for a shipper to decrease the number of missed pickups. And finally, Chris will provide some information on why it is important to use a 3PL like Cerasis to handle shippers' missed pickups on the shipper's behalf. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Freight Project Podcast. Hey, it's your favorite Freight Desk Manager on the Freight Project Podcast today. Everybody, welcome to today's episode where we have, once again, Chris Longner. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. I know you guys are chugging along there in the world of freight, picking up freight for our vendors, our customers' vendors. And today we want to talk a little more tactics. As we've seen and we've talked on previous episodes, the people really love to get expert tips on how to deal with the day-to-day frustrations. And one of those big frustrations that any shipper really hates dealing with are missed freight pickups. And you're the man to talk about how we can mitigate missed freight pickups. Now, it's not one of those things I think that, you'll eliminate entirely,
Nope.
Sort of like red lights or traffic. But there are some things you can do to get around them. But, freight pickups are a lot more common than we'd like and than people might think on the LTL side of the industry. And there could, be a multitude of reasons why. So let's first understand, why do missed freight pickups even occur in this industry?
Sure. A big reason nowadays, and this is no surprise to anybody, but there is a little thing called the old capacity crunch that is causing a lot of these issues. But that aside, because I think there's not a lot we can do about some of those things, I want to focus some of the attention here as to, you stated, Adam, some of the things that we can, some areas that can be reduced and hopefully to improve your pickup success. But a lot of times freight is missed because of scheduling errors. That could be that an EDI or an electronic transmission that was submitted to a carrier didn't go through. That could be that you or Cerasis, even, I won't say that we're 100% absolved from this as well, but doesn't contact the carrier via a phone call to schedule the pickup or, send in an email. I think that, items such as forgetting to include pickup numbers or any sort of reference numbers that a driver will need in order to get into a facility all kind of lumps under some scheduling errors. And those are things that we can really control to help with situations regarding missed pickups. Also, everyone's favorite topic or subtopic here, I guess, is the accessorials. Do we notify them of a lift gate at origin or a limited access facility? Are we getting out ahead of some of the details that are outside of just the 4 pallets at 500 pounds, pickup hours between 9 to 5? You got to start thinking about what is making this freight potentially unique, and if that is the case, are you contacting the carriers in an appropriate manner to get them that information so you're not having some of these scheduling errors? And then along with capacity, real briefly, some other things that are kind of hard to help is, a driver not being in the area or a driver not being there at close time. And the final thing I want to touch on Is your freight ready or not? Make sure your freight's ready when you say it's going to be ready. So that will improve relationships with carriers. That will assist in getting your freight out on time, obviously. But those are important things that you can do, and some you can't help, but at least to help make you aware of, to help make sure that you do not have as many missed pickups. I apologize, a little over the map there, Adam. I kind of bounced back and forth between a couple of different things. Hopefully, I know our listening audience is a smart group of people, and they should be able to pick up on some of those.
Yeah, they're pretty bright, I got to tell you, and hopefully they've been a bit educated about what we have to tell them. But I got to, when it comes to experience and dealing in this industry, nothing, you learn no better than doing.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And, your team is faced with the reality of managing the existence of a missed freight pickup. And they're going to happen. That's just the reality. It's how, like they said, things in life are going to happen to you. It's how you respond.
Sure.
And I think that's pretty true with a missed freight pickup. You might be a shipper who got a huge sale from a new customer, and the customer's really excited to do business with you, and you want to make a really good first impression. And then all of a sudden, that freight's not going to be there. It's going to be 2 days late, and everything's horrible. And now you're going to, quit me, and I'm going to lose revenue. And those are real fears by shippers. These aren't, just things that happen in a lab. Problems exist in the real world, and it's how you deal with them. So when a missed freight pickup occurs, what's your advice? How does our Cerasis team deal with a missed freight pickup? What would you tell to a shipper?
Yeah, absolutely. I would first inform that shipper that you should probably have a third-party logistics company handling these requests.
So just an easy button?
Yeah, exactly. Because the work that goes on behind the scenes that our team does, that I'll dive into here, it takes a lot of time and manpower that we'll touch on here a little bit later in the podcast. But basically what happens if you contact our team regarding a missed pickup, our team will look into seeing why the freight was missed. We also run reports that will provide us some proactive information on missed pickups that we then proactively follow up on and then communicate out as well. So our team will contact the carrier and see what was going on. Was it due to a capacity issue that the carrier will inform us of? Was it due to the freight not being ready? Was it due to them not having, some appropriate information, such as a pickup number or some sort of special instructions? So they'll let us know what these reasons are, and then from there, our team will go in and either reschedule the shipment with the same carrier, or if extenuating circumstances occur, look to provide some better options for our customer. And then in situations where we can potentially provide a little education to make sure that these don't happen again in the future, the team reaches out via email or a phone call and informs them of what happened, why it happened, and what we can do to prevent it in the future.
Well, it's going to happen, as we keep trying to say here, but it sounds like in having, like I said, experience is the best teacher here, and way to sustain your learning in your day-to-day work. And having dealt with so many missed freight pickups, the nature of your job, you obviously also work on actively educating our customers on decreasing missed freight pickups.
Yes.
And so do you have some tips on how a shipper can work on decreasing freight missed pickups themselves?
Absolutely. If there are special instructions, and I use that kind of vague terminology, but that kind of incorporates, as we talked about previously, if you are in a limited access facility or you you require the carrier to provide you a pickup number, some of those things which go outside of some norms, making sure that if there is anything that is precluding you from, an extremely standard pickup, that you are calling to the carrier to schedule that request prior to or instead of sending it in as an electronic transmission. A lot of times the electronic transmission will not carry over some of the special instructions, some of the even dimensions from what you may be submitting to them and to what they actually receive. So if you're dealing with excessive length, if you're dealing with oversized freight, if you're dealing with some things, that you want to make the carrier aware of, pick up the phone, give them a call, or contact us. If you are a Cerasis customer, contact us and we'll contact the carrier for you and inform them of what's going on. Make sure that you also have an accurate on-site contact for that pickup. It seems, elementary, but these are the things that we oftentimes see. Carrier coming in to pick up the freight, they need to get something's going on, or they need to contact them about, X, Y, and Z reason. Make sure you have an accurate on-site contact. And as I referenced earlier, make sure your freight's ready. If it's not ready, let the carrier know. It's, by consistently not having your freight ready, you are damaging relationships with a carrier that at this point in time holds a lot of cards and can make judgment calls as to whether or not they want to continue to pick up your freight if it's never ready. So you don't want to damage those relationships and that pricing. So if your freight's not ready, please let them know.
Yes.
And then another area. What? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, it just sounds like that's a pretty important point right there. And
yeah, absolutely.
You said it twice, and it seems like a simple thing. Can you expand on why people wouldn't have their freight ready? Is it just simple oversight, or what's driving that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. I think they believe that that they'll have it packaged, ready to go by the end of the day, and there's delays in production. There's there's things like that happening. To be quite honest, I don't know all the ins and outs as to why the freight isn't ready, but we see it a lot. That especially from inbound shipments to our customers that that cause delays and cause for frustrations. And it damages, once again, not only relationships between the origin and the carrier, but also between the shipper and the consignee. And you're harming a lot of businesses and a lot of parties just by not staying informed or not keeping the carrier informed as to what is going on with that particular freight. And then also here as well, understand your surroundings, so to speak. Are you in a rural area? Do you that doesn't have a carrier coming out on a daily basis? Are you on a limited access facility? Letting carriers know these things up front as well is very important. It's communication. It is, how best to communicate with the carrier. If there's something off, pick up the phone, give them a call, or contact us, and we'll contact them for you.
Well, I got to tell you, with all these moving parts, I have to make sure my freight's ready. I got to understand reality. I've got to, start early in the morning, and sometimes the market forces of the capacity crunch or something I can't avoid altogether, or there's a dang hurricane coming and it wipes out a major corridor on the East Coast or something like that. Being a shipper is tough. It's tough. I got a lot of respect for those folks doing that on the day-to-day. So, that's why I think we see the rise in 3PLs, the rise in use of a company like Cerasis to kind of be that hands-on partner who really aids in solving some of these things we can't control, or, reminding of best practices that we can do in order to make our lives a little bit better. Nothing wrong with having a friend or a partner to remind you of the good things. So, beyond just what we do to avoid missed freight pickups, or what we do when they occur on behalf of our customers, what are some other benefits, maybe other than just like I said, the resource and the hands-on partner of having someone like Cerasis handle your freight missed pickups versus doing it just yourself?
Absolutely. I think that by having Cerasis do this, it is you are allocating your existing resources to other areas that may impact your business more than having somebody sit on hold and try to contact a carrier. The capacity crunches that we hear about from a driver area, it also trickles down into their dispatch personnel, their inbound customer service contact centers as well. And a lot of the hold times that you would be finding sitting, with certain carriers is, 3, 5, 10, 20 minutes. It depends, especially if you're calling on a pickup that was missed the previous day and you're calling in early in the morning. So we have, but we are equipped to handle that. We are equipped because, we can do other things with other customers and things like that while we're on hold. We can allocate our resources in order to handle that so you don't have to. Plus, we talk to carriers all the time, all throughout the country. We've heard it all. We understand what is intentional, honesty, and we understand what is intentional kind of misdirection that the carrier might try to give us. We know what we should be hearing for. We know the lingo. We know the relationships in certain cities and at certain terminals. And we are equipped to combat some of those misdirections that the carrier may be trying to project on us with the appropriate probing questions and do so in a manner that isn't going to damage your relationship that you may have with the carrier, that you may cause with the carrier. Our team is professional. Our team is knowledgeable, and our team is assertive in getting the appropriate answers, but also not aggressive to the point where we're going to damage your relationships with the carrier.
Well, it sounds like a heck of a CrossFit coach, if you ask me. Chris, I know you're well aware of what that takes to transform your body, to change behaviors and really go for a goal. But there's nothing better than having a community, which I think the CrossFit community is pretty involved, and having a mentor, a coach to get you, to help you, remind you of your goals, and to guide you based on experience. Kind of like the Farmers Insurance commercial. We've seen it all, we've done it all, and we're going to be there for you. And that's what 3PL like Cerasis can bring towards reducing or dealing and managing with missed freight pickups. So thanks again, Chris, for your time today here on the Freight Project Podcast, illuminating our listeners with information about missed freight pickups. I think they'll be better off having listened to this episode. So thanks once again for being a great guest here on the Freight Project Podcast.
Always my pleasure.
All right. And thanks. And those there listening, look out next week for another episode of the Freight Project Podcast, where we'll feature Cerasis experts and practitioners to give you great tips and strategies to make you a better shipper, as well as outside voices for other supply chain disciplines like warehouse management, inventory management, e-commerce, carrier data, and more. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.